Okay, this internet is really getting on my nerves. Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal Daily. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at Jacino Tweets and at SheKnowsArsenal. Welcome to another episode. We're going to be going through the most recent Arsenal news and transfer news, as well as a short little match preview on Arsenal versus Bournemouth at the weekend. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. I will be on the football terrace around 6, so I have to make this one a little bit quicker. But nevertheless, we're going to get all the way into it. So make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, okay, so really quickly, I do want to say that the football content awards are back, and last season a lot of people voted for me, but I was actually not eligible for it because my channel was too new. And this time around, my channel is eligible for the best new content creator section of the football content awards. So if you guys love this channel and you feel like I'm worthy of that title, please feel free to vote for me. I pinned the link at the top of the chat. So please vote for me. It's also in the description box. If you feel like I'm worthy, don't feel like pressure or anything, like I have a gun to your head, like vote for me or it's not anything that serious. But I mean, who am I kidding? I would love to win something. So if you guys do think I'm worthy, please feel free to vote. But yeah, if you don't think so, no worries. But yeah, the link is there for you guys. Let's see what you guys are saying. William says, let's go. Don One says, beautiful stuff. Bye bye, Emery and Raul banter era. Bilal says hi. Hello to you as well. William says, it's Jess back again. Yeah. Well, that's more diluted than me, but yeah. John P says, it's Friday. Let's go. Blaze says, hi, Jess. John P says, seriously, to be the best new guy. What the F? Matt G says, you've got my vote, Jess. Don One says, vote Jess for best new content creator. Do it now. Thank you guys so much. And so, yeah, let's get into it. So, I do have to say, I am still now that the All or Nothing documentary is done, I do have to say, 4 through 6 were the best episodes, obviously, because we were winning. But 7 through 8 were really, really tough to take. Really, really tough to take. And so I did enjoy the documentary, but knowing the outcome and also knowing that we didn't make it, and seeing all the devastation, and it was really tough. And this season, I really hope that Arsenal do everything they can to prepare for the season so that we can make it through. It's not even just oh, she knows football. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I really appreciate it. It's not even just about the 38 games that we have. It's the cup competitions and then surviving this World Cup mid-season. So I hope that Arsenal can, bolster the squad enough so that when we get these inevitable injuries, because honestly, seeing the Thomas Partey injury and the Tierney injury again, I was like, oh man, I don't want to see that again. And where I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe this team is, or the squad is big enough. It's not. For me, it's not big enough. We still need some more, so yeah, I feel like we still need some more pieces, 1 or 2 more pieces, and we're ready to go. Obviously, it's not a big piece of news, but I do feel like it is kind of big, is that Arteta has kind of confirmed that Marquinhos is not going to go out on a loan. He's going to stay with us. Whether that means that he's going to spend time in the under 21s or with the first team, I'm not sure. But I do think that he's probably impressed enough to be in early round cup matches and things like that. So Marquinhos is definitely probably not really on the Martinelli track, but he's on a track where, maybe he's not going to go on that loan that I was talking about. I was very he's probably going to go on a loan, or I think he should go on a loan. He's sticking with the team and sticking with the club, which is great. I love to see that. Jeff says, I'll vote for you if you say something nice about Xhaka. Xhaka is definitely a leader in that dressing room, and yeah, he's growing on me. That's as nice as I can get about Granite. Don Arsenal says, I see the same old Arsenal not getting any more players. Matt G says, he's the mystery winger. DJ Oni says, it's nice to finally see Pepe get a nice move. I see what you've done there. Despite his bad form, a nice club like Nice can still sign Pepe, and I hope they revive his nice form and pay us a nice fee. I like that. I like that, DJ Oni. So let's go ahead and pop in to this really quick. So this David Ornstein, this is a tap in for him. Like, I mean, there was other journalists that came out with this earlier. Gary Jacob, who he credits in his tweet, came out with the news first, and then Santi JM also put out a tweet around this. And there were some other journalists that had kind of already said this, but David Ornstein tweeted that Arsenal are in talks with Nice about sending Nicolas Pepe on a loan. Not done, but discussions ongoing, and hope it gets there. Arsenal's chances of signing a new winger always thought to have depended on the 27-year-old winger leaving. Now, I think this is, for some people, this might seem harsh, but it's a little bit of a music to your ears a little bit, because if you're like me, you feel like Arsenal need another attacker, period. We are light in attack, and where we have a lot of bodies in midfield, I don't feel like we have the same level in attack. I think we're one or two injuries away from really looking like, do we have going here? What's going on? And so, if you're like me, let me know if you feel like an attacker is necessary. But Pepe leaving, I think, was always likely. And like David Ornstein said, was always the opening that was needed to bring in another attacker. So seeing that this Nice move seems to be progressing well, it's not done yet, but progressing well is a good thing, because I think that there was a little bit of reluctance in believing that somebody would take Nicola Pepe on. Not because he does have value. He is a good player to somebody, but just everything around him, the wages, he hasn't played a lot. Is anybody in another league going to take a risk on him? I did feel like Premier League clubs were interested in him, but he was kind of like their third and fourth choice. So it is nice to see that Nice are interested in him and they want to move forward with this loan move. Now, I already kind of mentioned this, but there was a piece of the report, I think, from Gary Jacob that did say that a piece of the wages or part of the wages would have to be paid by Arsenal. That's not really surprising to anybody, is it? I mean, nobody's going to take on those wages fully. And I think the best case scenario is for Pepe to go back to where he was before he came to Arsenal, and go somewhere where he feels comfortable and where he can really where he can really pull up trees and do a good job, and then Arsenal get a decent fee. I think that's the ideal scenario for Arsenal right now, and the most ideal scenario for Nicola Pepe. I think Pepe is probably looking to reinvigorate his career, and I am not proud, but I am happy that he's somebody that's not just going to sit on these high wages and just be like, well, I'll just leave on a free in 2 years. I'm going to make you pay me out. He's going to go on the loan and do the work. And then hopefully Arsenal can get a fee from Nice or another club next summer before his contract runs out. So yeah, I think a lot of people were kind of waiting on this to come, for somebody to be interested in him. And then now we can start speculating on who this winger is. And we did a whole show on this the other day around who is this winger going to be, who are they going to be on the left or on the right. I do feel like it might be Pino, it could be Pedro Neto. Those are the two that I think feel the most realistic, based on just my gut. My gut may be wrong. My gut is wrong sometimes, but I just feel like it might be one of those two, because they are very similar. Not very similar, but they are similar to what we already have in Saka and Martinelli. So I'm looking forward to this, because this should open up that lane for us. And I do think Edu already has something lined up. I don't think he's just been sitting here twiddling his fingers and barbecuing and making cheese plates and drinking wine and not getting ready for somebody to potentially come in. DJC Drum says, I'm still nervous to see how Tommy holds up the season injury-wise. We do have to make sure that we're bolstered in those positions, right? But I do think that having Ben White being able to play in that position, I know people don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it either, but Cedric as well. We may not love the options that we have that are not Tamiyasu, but we have some options there. Lucas says we are short one person in every area, left center back, DM, winger. Needed still. Then we can say we are in good balanced squad. Well, I think most squads that are not Manchester City have holes in it. And so I do think it's, for me, my feeling is that it's unrealistic to feel like you're going to fill every single hole in 2 or 3 windows. I do think it takes time to do that. And so if the only like hole that we had in the squad going into next season was maybe a more attacking right back and another left-sided center back, knowing that we have Cedric and Ben White who can play in those positions, or we have Tierney that can play left-sided center back. We have Ben White that can maybe shift over to the left, or Saliba. I think that feels okay for me. It's more the attack. There's not a lot of shifting you can do there. And there's nobody in the squad that can do Thomas Partey's job. So those are the two that I'm looking at, but we are still going to have holes in the squad. We're not really complete yet. And you can survive with holes in the squad. You just have to get a little bit of luck. Williams says, Jess, definitely Arsenal need to sign a DM and a CM, else we're done for the season. I think it's either or. A central midfielder that can play as a 6 or just a 6 at all. Like, I don't think we need two center midfielders. We'll see what happens with Fabio Vieira and ESR, but watching the under 21s, I do think you're going to see ESR play a central role. I do think you're going to see him playing in the 8 role at some point this season, and then Fabio Vieira will kind of underpin quite a bit of positions. He's going to fight against Granit Xhaka for that left center mid position. Also going to be somebody that can play off of the right and off of the left in those forward positions. So for me, it's a little bit more about an attacker and a midfielder, not a DM and a CM. You know, I feel like then you still have that hole in attack. DJ Oni says this Pepe deal needs to be done quick so we can bring in the winger. Exactly. There's only like 2 weeks left in the window. So yeah. Lucas says Arsenal improving in-game management is key. Eddie, KT, and Sambi should be sub on earlier in games. John P says cannot see us bringing in a 6 in this window. Did Douglas Luiz sign a new contract at Villa? He did. It looks like he's going to stay, but I can't see us bringing in. I feel like we're not going to bring in a midfielder. That's my feeling. But that could change if Bellerin and Ainsley Maitland-Niles go, or there's a good opportunity. But one thing that's been reiterated by Arteta is that they want the right players and not just any players. So, you know, they're not just going to bring anybody in just for the sake of it. And so if there's nobody out there on the market that they feel like is up to the level or actually going to improve us, they won't do the deal. Again, if you guys are just joining, there's 120 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you feel like I'm worthy, please vote for SheKnowsArsenal for the best new content creator for the Football Content Awards. The link is pinned and it's also in the description box. John P says, this is good news. I feel pretty confident we're bringing in wide forward now. Exactly. So, you know, Nicola Pepe going opens up a door. Hopefully we can get a fee for him. Hopefully it all goes through and we'll see how this all works out. I hope that, you know, I don't expect to hear anything tomorrow or through the weekend, but maybe potentially on Monday, you know, so we'll see what happens with that. So yeah, let's go ahead and move into the preview part of the show, because that's going to be the main part. We're just going to kind of chit chat about what's going on. You know, how are you guys feeling about the game? Are you guys feeling pretty confident? Because, I mean, we're playing Bournemouth. This should be pretty straightforward, but anything can happen. Bournemouth, we'll look at what they've done so far in the league in just a second. Let me pull them up really quick. And see what they've done. See what they've done so far. Oh, Aaron Ramsdale has his head like on straight. I don't need him having any like, oh, I used to play for Bournemouth, so I'm just gonna be like that. Like I don't need any of that nonsense. So, oh, So they beat Aston Villa on the first day of the season starting, and then they lost to Man City 4-0. They were away from home. So at home, they're 1-1. And then we're gonna go away to them on Saturday or tomorrow. So this can be interesting. Bournemouth, I don't think we have like a particularly good record away from home at their place, but we do well when they come to us. They let's see what they have going on. Jefferson Lerma is somebody that I remember when he was in the Premier League before. I remember Alan Smith. I remember Billings, Solanke, Kiefer Moore, I think that is, and Tavernier. His brother plays for Rangers, but this is his brother, I think. So not particularly anything like special or anybody that I'm worried about per se. But it's a team that's playing at their home ground and we need to be ready to go and can't get cocky, right? So let's see what Arteta said in his press conference ahead of Bournemouth. He said on the latest team news, everybody is okay. As you saw, we had Cedric, Fabio, and Emil play with the under 21s, and they all look fit. They trained with us all week, so they are all available for selection. I didn't even know Cedric was injured, y'all. I didn't even know he was injured. But in terms of Fabio and Emil, if you guys did watch the under 21s, Fabio did play like more of a right wing position. And the under 21s coach said that that's what Arteta requested. And then Emil played a central role off of the right hand side, and there was a lot of connection between Fabio and Emil and Cedric. Like they were all kind of like, I think that's natural because they're all on the same side. But in particular, you saw Fabio and Emil playing off of each other quite well. And I thought Emil looked sharp. I thought Fabio Vieira looked quite sharp. So we'll see what happens with them. He said on the confidence of the squad right now, it's great to win and perform the way that we are performing at the moment, but it's just 2 games. We have a whole season ahead of us. Let's focus on the next match and what we have to do and the areas where we can improve. He talked about not getting away with good form. We really have to make sure that we keep our feet on the ground. You know, this is probably the easiest part of our schedule is these opening 5 games or so. And so even though we're riding high right now, we know that there's going to be ups and downs and a roller coaster of a 38 games. So I do think it's important to keep your feet on the ground, like Arteta's already said. He said, like on the challenge posed by Bournemouth, it'll be a really tough match. I've been there many times. I know how tough it is, and I know to expect the atmosphere to be hectic. It's a team that is used to winning because last year they had a really successful season and they've started well this season. I know Scott Parker very well, and I know they're going to make it a really difficult game for us. So it's not going to be easy. I don't think you can take any games for granted. I don't think you can take any opposition for granted. We have to be really on our game. You know, anybody can beat anybody on any given day. You know, I'm sure not a lot of people had them beating Aston Villa. What's this noise? I don't know why they're talking about Parker's fashion sense. It's so nonsense. Why are they talking about that in a press conference? He talked about Gabriel Jesus and he said probably the biggest difference since I worked with him before is his maturity. Obviously, a few years have gone by, a few experiences, and as you have mentioned, his language has improved so much. He's got a different role here, and you can sense that straight away. I'm glad that he's having a good time and performing really well for the team. So yeah, basically, he was kind of like the younger at Manchester City, and he's a leader here at Arsenal, which is a different role. And they've kind of spoken about, thank you. They've kind of spoken about how, that was so sweet. How he's, is the leader of the Brazilian group. Like he's the leader. And so he's kind of leading that group forward, which is great. On if our good form has changed the transfer plans, no, we are still in the same position. Obviously, the market gives you a lot of information and something that maybe you expect that you could get. You are not getting and the same when it's ins and outs, but we are focused on the players that we have right now and getting the best out of them. So, you know, nothing has really changed. which is a good thing because I saw some people kind of saying that they felt like, well, now that we've been playing well, maybe Arteta and Edu will think that we don't need people. I think they realize that it's the beginning of the season, it's a long season, we're going to have injuries, and they don't want to relive the nightmare that was last season that I watched on episode 7 and 8 of All or Nothing Arsenal. So there you go. Let's see. Oh, he said, okay, so like, let's see, on Cedar players appearing for under 21s, 100%. I think it's three different cases. He said Fabio and Emil have been injured, and with Cedric, it was more a case of giving him the option. So, maybe he took the option. He wasn't injured because I didn't think he was injured. So maybe he just wanted to keep fresh, which I'm not surprised that maybe Cedric would be that way. The kind of like word on Cedric is that he's another one of those coach figures in the locker room. He's very close with Arteta, teacher's pet, like if that's what you want to call it. But there's a reason why he's here and Callum Chambers is not. There's a reason why he's here and Ainsley Maitland-Niles is on the outskirts. He does everything that Arteta wants him to do. He does all the right things. And I think, shows a level of professionalism that Arteta wants as a template for his younger players. So I can give Cedric all the credit for that, and I'm not surprised that maybe he'd want some additional minutes to stay fresh just in case something happens. You never know what can happen and what opportunities, are going to come up. And so if he wants to stay fresh, play in the under 21s, what could it hurt? And yeah, I did also, just kind of piggybacking off of that, watching Cedric stick up for Henry Francis, I think it was in training when Lacazette kicked him after he took the ball away from him, showed me a different side of Cedric that I really like. Cedric is definitely a team player and all about Arsenal and all about being a part of this team. And whether you like him as a player or not, like you guys have always told me, it's good to have those types of characters in the group. And Cedric has shown that. And so that doesn't mean that I think he's the best player in the world, but I could give him so much credit for that because that really made me feel good. And I think you guys probably maybe feel the same, that just because you ain't scoring doesn't mean you have to kick a kid. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I love that about him. Let's see. He kind of talked about the outgoings. We kind of know that those players, Hector Bellerin, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and Pepe, are being looked at. On Granit Xhaka and how proud he is with him, he said he doesn't need the armband to be one of the leaders. It's his personality and the way that he approaches his profession that make him a special player. I think he's very important for the team. He's showing that what we need from him is that he performs the same way or better, which is cool. That's everything that we kind of know. Let's see. On whether he's considered playing Fabio Vieira on the right. Fabio's versatility is something that caught our eye, and we believe that he is going to give us a lot of options. It's about nurturing how they work together and the type of player that Fabio needs around him to exploit his qualities, which we feel in this side could be very powerful. So we will have to wait and see how it develops. Just reading between the lines there, I do think you have to be careful about playing a midfield that does have Fabio Vieira and Odegaard in it. We kind of spoke about this the other day. I do think that there's scenarios that you might see it, but the thing that Granit Xhaka gives you is a little bit of stability in a midfield that could be quite light with Odegaard in it. So balance is really key. So if Fabio Vieira plays and Xhaka for some reason does not, maybe you need something a little bit more sturdy on the right. And so I don't know who that player is, but I do think that they'll make sure that they have Fabio Vieira playing in midfield with a group that can hold him up and propel him forward and showcase the best of his characteristics and not put him out there with a bunch of kids. Like, don't put him out there with Sambi and Odegaard. Put him out there with some players that have some oomph on them. So I think that's what he's saying. On how Marquinhos has settled in, I'm very happy with him. He's adapted very well, and he's a really likable figure in the dressing room and around Colney. His language is not great yet, but I think his physicality has been pretty exceptional. All of us know he's a brick house for someone who has come from Brazil and has a different way to train and play, but he's done it. I think he's got the qualities for how we want to play. We will keep him here for another few months and make sure that he establishes himself at the club and in the team. And afterwards, we'll see what the best movement is for his career. This might be a case of him going out on loan after January, after those early stage Europa League games are over, setting him out on a 6-month loan might be what he's looking at and wanting to keep him around in the squad until then to make sure that we have the numbers and also he's adapted properly before we send him away. So we'll see what happens with that. And on the potential partnership between Vieira and Smith Rowe, we want players that make each other better. And in order to do that, first of all, there has to be a chemistry between those players and an understanding and timing in different qualities. We are building that relationship. Fabio has been training with us for a week, so he needs to develop that and see where he clicks and where he can make a big impact for the team. So yeah, like a lot of this is mostly not so much about Bournemouth, but about getting those additional players in. Where do they play? How do they fit in? And like Arteta, he doesn't really give a lot away. But I do think Arsenal fans are excited to see where Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira fit in. Because if for some reason we don't bring in another midfielder, those are the players that we're going to be relying upon. Smith Rowe has so much talent in him. And if he could just stay fit, maybe we'll see him step in that Odegaard position and do something a little bit different there. I know people want to see that. And Fabio Vieira, maybe he can do something anywhere because he's so versatile. So I liked what I saw there or heard there, but I don't necessarily feel like Arteta gave much away. There's 150 of you guys in here like the video and subscribe to the channel. Saida says, we've always struggled against Bournemouth. Against Bournemouth because of Eddie Howe. I think he's more of our bogey manager than Bournemouth being our bogey team. That's such a good point, Saida. I do think, I do remember that, that we would struggle when he was there. Eddie Howe's a very good manager. And so maybe played against Scotty Parker won't be as bad. But when I look at their team, I don't see anybody outward that I feel like is going to be like a huge threat. It's about not getting sucked into their fans, being super loud and, that the away atmosphere and playing our game no matter what. Let's see. Lucas says, Arteta said a couple days ago that Fabio can be false nine. I think we're going to, at some point, be at a point where ESR plays false nine. Fabio Vieira plays false nine. I do think we're going towards a really fluid group of players, and that should be really, really exciting. That should be really, really exciting. Let's see. Lucas says Cedric was left out because Tommy was back on the bench. Yeah, Cedric is kind of like out, on the outskirts of the team, but I think he had the choice whether or not he could play for the under 21s or not. That's kind of what Arteta said. And some players would have just went home, so I do rate that about him. If he did make that decision, that's a good decision to make. Nitin Patel says Marquinhos is Hulk 2.0. He is no small player, I'll say that. So let's go ahead and build our little lineup. I don't think there'll be many changes, but we can look at it anyway. Goalkeeper Ramsdale, an ex-Bournemouth player, needs to have a good game. Think he's been a little bit shaky. No penalties, please. Clean sheet. Gabriel, I don't think we'll see any changes there. I think the only interesting one is going to be whether or not Arteta makes that change at right back. If he brings in Tomiyasu, who is, by all accounts, our starting right back. Is it rushing him back, or do we need to kind of get him acclimated back into the team? And does that mean that Ben White falls into, Ben White came off injured or had a little knock, I think, against Leicester. So maybe Arteta takes that opportunity to let him rest, bring Tomiyasu back in, and see how Saliba and Tomiyasu look together. I don't envision any change at left back. Zinchenko has played really well. I don't know why they don't have him in here as Zinchenko. They have him as some random guy. I don't think anything here really will change. I think Xhaka will play. He's been playing very well. Why would it change? Odegaard, who has come into quite a bit of criticism, over the last two games, saying that he's hindering Saka from being able to play on that right-hand side, that, he's not doing this and he's not doing that. But every time I look at his stats, he's the guy that touches the ball before the assist comes. He's very influential in some of the things that we're doing. He runs more than anybody else. And I just don't really understand the agenda against Martin Odegaard. I think, he needs to shoot more. But there's a lot of other players that we have that have flaws too that I don't see are pointed out as much as Odegaard's. And this is our starting midfield until somebody else gets that position. I know that there's two schools of thought here that you have to give other players runs of games, but I do think that in the situation that we're in right now, when you get minutes, you need to show that you're better than the player that who's holding that position at the moment. So that's the starting midfield. I don't see anything wrong with it. There's also this over verticality thing. Let's see if Thomas Partey can control the tempo a little bit more against Bournemouth. They may sit a little bit deeper, so we might have to pick a lock. That might take a little while. Hopefully, that doesn't make us nervous. I don't think Crystal Palace sat in a block against us. So if this is the first low block that we face, it's going to be interesting to see if time goes on and we haven't scored that goal. What do we do to change that? That might be, bringing in somebody that has a little bit more of a creative eye. Maybe that means bringing in somebody like a Fabio Vieira that can be a little bit more intricate in one of those positions. But at the beginning, I think it's going to be this midfield three. Martinelli doesn't lose his position. He's been absolutely phenomenal this season so far. We know who's going to play here. And we know who's going to play here. You guys let me know how you feel about the Tomiyasu, Ben White, Saliba situation. What do you guys think is going to happen there? Do you think that will stick with the same group because they played well, or do you think this is a chance to bring in Tomiyasu, or do we wait a little bit longer to bring him in? Personally, I still think that Tomiyasu is our starting right back, and I would like to see him back in the team, even if that means having to sacrifice Ben White. Even I love him too. And then because we also have Bournemouth away is going to be tricky, but we have Fulham at home. Fulham is going to be a difficult team to play against, but maybe you want to bring in newer players or players that have been kind of on the outside. Maybe you do wait until Fulham at home to bring Tomiyasu in, but I want to know what you guys think. Let's see. Where'd it go? Here we go. Sorry. Lloyd says we must not fall into the trap of the last two games. We are far from perfect, but win for Arsenal over the weekend. Great show. Tommy has to start. He's quality. Dr. Omizia says I think White still starts ahead of Tommy, but eventually he'd come into the side. That is a good point. White has maybe earned the right to keep that spot based on his last two performances. John P says, be great to see Odegaard and Fabio in the eights. When we face low blocks, we have big, fast, big space center backs now to push right up the pitch. Maybe that's something that Arteta looks forward to. I don't know how that looks. You know what I mean? Because, you could go into yeah, I don't know how that looks because I don't see a scenario where Xhaka is pulled out of the team. But I think Arteta needs to play around with it. There's going to be times where we need to be able to operate without him. I know he's kind of like our comfort blanket, but I would like to see other players maybe play Tierney at left back and push Zinchenko into that midfield position, see something a little bit different. This might be controversial, but maybe you take out either Martinelli or Saka and put Fabio Vieira in that position and push right up or something. I don't know, you guys. I'm just spitballing. Maybe you take out a defender. Maybe that's the option. You take out let's say you take out Tomiyasu or White, you push Saliba and Gabriel straight up the pitch, you move Zinchenko right into midfield, and then you just switch things up a little bit more up top. I don't know. Ronald says, as a City fan, I think Gabby going to Arsenal was perfect for his career. Hope he bags a lot of goals for you guys. Thank you so much, Ronald. I really appreciate no salt there. Obviously, you probably don't see us as a rival at the moment, so it's a little bit easier to be like, cool, he's gone. It's fine, but I agree with you. I do think it was the right thing for his career. Yo-Yo says Saliba's spot isn't secure if you assume tenure matters. Akau says Odegaard's specialty is short passes. Matthew says just get used to Xhaka, who will not be moved. Already said that. Amira says the longest Tommy's played since last season is 45 minutes for the under 21s. I'd start White and give Tommy 30 minutes. Wouldn't change the lineup till a home game personally. I think that's a good point. Don Arsenal says Bournemouth going to defend. Do we need Whites running on the flank, which Tommy doesn't give us? I don't know. Some people feel like Tomiyasu is the better overlapping fullback than Ben White. I think you need whoever it is has to be the better passer. I do think when you're pushed right up there and you're playing against a low block, you need players that can unpick locks and are also going to be calm in possession and not just kick the ball out because you're worried about time running out. So whoever's the better passer between the two, and you guys can let me know who that is, whether or not it's White or Tomiyasu. But whoever's the better passer is probably the better option against a low block. John P says, keep Ben White, but Tommy's quick two-footed passing really helps Odegaard and Saka's attacking game. Well, I think that's also an underrated trait of Tomiyasu is that he is two-footed, and so he can hit those crossfield balls with either foot. So that's a very underrated quality that he has. Let's see. Don one says it all depends on Tommy's fitness. It does depend on Tomiyasu's fitness. Wake up says we just need Xhaka to be fit and play well and not mess up and party not to get injured. I feel like that's a lot. Like that's a lot right there. That's asking a lot there. Lucas says I think KT and Tommy should start away games. That's a good point. When you're playing against especially better sides away from home, you might want to just secure your back line and make sure that are a little bit more secure. The thing about having Zinchenko in your team is that he's going to be targeted very similarly to Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's a very similar concept. Trent plays like a midfielder. He pushes right into midfield, but the space in behind him is always exposed. And so whoever's the I guess for Liverpool, that would be the right-sided central midfielder has to be comfortable dropping into that spot, but also the right-sided center back has to be able to cover a lot of space, which tends to be either be Kanate or Mate, and Henderson coming from midfield. For Arsenal, that's Granit Xhaka and Gabriel. So it is the risk worth, or is the reward worth the risk? And for me, in most home games where we're going to be dominating possession, it's worth it. But at away grounds, when things get really touchy, the way it kind of was against Crystal Palace, I did feel really comfortable once Tierney got in the game. But I think Zinchenko had kind of like that was his first game for Arsenal, first real debut. So yeah, that's the kind of things that Arteta's going to have to work out. Those are the things that him and his team are going to have to work out. Let's see. Nith says we need a priority 6 signings: right wing, right DM, right back, left center back, goalkeeper, and striker. Competing players in those positions to make sure backup depth doesn't allow for second-rate players. That's a lot of players. We're not going to get all those in this window. We've already signed 5 players in this window. So you're basically saying we need to buy with all we already bought, and what you're saying is we need basically a whole new team. And the only team that operates like that in any like closeness is Manchester City. We're not going to be in a position where we're always going to have the same level of quality backups in every single position. And so I think right wing is something that needs to be looked at. Left center back is something that needs to be looked at. Maybe not this window, but the next. Goalkeeper, I don't see why we'd be looking at a goalkeeper. We have 3. We have Ramsdale, Matt Turner, and Carl Hein. We don't need a goalkeeper. And striker, I think we're good at the moment with Gabriel Jesus and Nketiah. So I'm not sure that we need 6 more players like in this window. I don't know if that's what you're saying, but that's a lot of players. That's a lot of players. There's 200 of you guys in here. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. John P says, Jess, how would you feel about Tierney playing left center back when Gabriel is missing, or would you shift William across? I think I'd shift William across. I just feel like Tierney can play there, but I would prefer him playing there in a 3, not in a 2. And William Saliba, it's just what the pros and cons of both. With Tierney, you get the left-sided distribution, but then you don't have somebody that's comfortable in a back 2. With Saliba, you have somebody that's maybe not as comfortable with his left foot, but it can play in a back 2. And so what would I rather have? Somebody that's more comfortable with their left foot or somebody more comfortable in a back 2? I think I'd prefer Saliba. Let's see. So there's 200 of you guys in here. I'm going to go ahead and put in what I think is going to happen. I don't think we see any changes because that's how Arteta works. I think you keep the spot while we're winning, and then we play it until it breaks. Hopefully Arteta can get to a point where he makes preemptive changes before it breaks down. get it done before. But I do think that this is what we'll see, and which is the team that's been winning and playing well. But what I do think also is that we will see, maybe if we're up by a couple of goals, you'll see maybe a Emil Smith Rowe change. You'll see Eddie and Kedia come in. You might see Fabio Vieira. Just depends on where we are with the game. Now, let's go ahead and do our predictions. Predictions, get them in. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen. Who scores the goals? How many goals is it? Whatever. Let me know what you think about the game against Bournemouth. Let's see. Let's see. Also, you guys, again, if you guys are just joining, if you guys feel like I'm worthy, it'd be great if you guys can vote for me for the best new content creator for the football content awards. The link is in the description, as well as it's also pinned in the chat. I'd really appreciate your guys' vote if you guys feel like it's like, if you feel like I'm worthy. That's the only way that I can say it. Like, if you guys don't think it, it's fine. She Knows Football, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, please vote for Jess multiple times for multiple devices. Don't cheat, but go vote. Lucas says 3-1, Odegaard, Saka, and Eddie. Don 1 says 4-1 to the Arsenal. John P says, I want lots of goals tomorrow. Well, I'm on the same page as you. I want lots of goals tomorrow. I just want to be sitting there like, oh yeah. 4-0, says She Knows Football. Ronald says for Arsenal 4-1, Gabby Brace. I hope so. I want him to push for that golden boot so badly. John P says 5-0. Rig says 4-0. Ultima Spell says 2-0. Deb M says 3-0. Jesus Brace and Saka goal. Bilal says 3-0. Jesus, Saka, and Martinelli. Jacob says 2-0 to the Arsenal. Let's see. Amir says, I don't know if you've seen this, Jess, but I saw something on Twitter about Arteta making full use of Tommy's versatility and playing him as a center back in training. Well, that's good, because we may not get to another center back in this window. And so if they're already like trying other players there to see what works, I think that's the best possible thing that we could do, because there's going to be a scenario where the players are just not fit or they need some rotation. And I wouldn't mind seeing Tomiyasu as a center back. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Johnson says, I'm seeing 5-0. Don 1 says, Odegaard, 2 goals, Jesus, and Xhaka Screamer. John P says, Elliot said it would be 10-0. Well, what Elliot says is probably the truth. Lucas says, if we score early, it could be bad time for the Cherries. And I think we will push for that early goal. I think we'll do what we always do. We go out there and we really push first 15 minutes to get that early goal. If we get one, I can totally see 2, 3, 4 going in, really just zap the confidence right out of them. I would imagine that we control the majority of the game, most of the possession, and they will sit in some sort of block, but you got to get them early. You got to get them early. So my prediction, you guys, is that I think we'll win 3-0. I think we'll win 3-0. I back Gabriel Jesus to score a goal and Saka and Martinelli to also score a goal. So I will be, again, you guys, like how things are working now. What She Knows Arsenal is tomorrow. You'll get a pre-recorded match review, hits and misses, a couple hours after the game when I'm off of the football terrace, and you'll get a longer live show breaking down everything a day or two after. So make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel again if you feel like it, vote for me for the FCA awards. Link the link is pinned and it's also in the description box. Really enjoyed talking to you guys today, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye guys.